They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the ANZCAR Cup. We are here for round 10 of the Cup Series here at Talladega Superspeedway for the Anzac round of the series. Of course, we are celebrating the Anzacs and the veterans of the Australian and New Zealand armies, of course, for this race. We have many special liveries out there, and joining me in the box are two special commentators tonight. First of all, I have reigning Xfinity champion and Xfinity whisperer, you could say, Mr. Hamish Gallagher. Hamish, how are you going?
Hey, Carl, this is going to be fun, eh? Looking forward to this. The Daytona Cup race is anything to go by. It should be a fun race to watch.
Absolutely. It should be really exciting seeing these cars on the super speedway. It's a pleasure to have you up here representing the Kiwis, of course. And on the Australian side, I have a veteran himself, part of those Anzacs, with 12 years of Navy service, 10 years of service in the Army, in the SAS, Mr. Mark Johansson. How are you going, Mark?
Good, Carl. Evening, Hamish. It's good to be here for the Anzac round. Mate, I'm just looking through some of these car liveries, and I tell you what, some guys have put in some time and effort into these cars for this week, so well done to the guys.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to see, and what we love in the series. And the cars will be pulling into pit lane um, because we will be doing a minute silence in respect to all of those that we have lost throughout the many hard times of war. The Anzacs that unfortunately did not return the from the conflict. So the cars will be pulling in, switching off, and we will be observing that minute silence. And we are back, as we say, in remembrance to all that we lost in service to the country and fighting for what they believed in. So tonight it is the Anzac round, and it is the Anzac Talladega race. Tonight's race is a bit of a special one, as there is a fantastic prize on offer from Zero Alpha Motorsport for the winner tonight, a non-profit organisation that assists the Australian Defence Force veterans get involved into motorsport and help them get into something a little bit different. With the prize, they're actually going to be getting the opportunity to head over to Tasmania and drive either a Formula 500 speedway car, if they're under 16, which I don't think we've got anyone under 16 out there tonight, but if they are, then they get to drive a special Daihatsu Junior Speedway sedan at Carrick Speedway. And then for the tarmac drivers, they get the opportunity to drive the absolutely insane Honda Prelude that they've made, a bonkers rally car slash track day car at Baskerville or Simmons Plain Raceway. A fantastic prize on offer, especially for such a fantastic race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see the Hans cars pulling on the big bucks like that for the cool price. So this should make things even more intense tonight.
I think there may be a little bit more than rubbing and racing going on tonight. um, not only I can probably say that some of these guys that have done those special paints would like to see their car up there on the top step.
Yeah, very much so. Just quickly before we run through the starting order, it is Brenton Hobson in the lead of the championship, 14 points ahead of Dyson in second. Neil Pearson for 26 points down, 30 points down in fourth is Skurlock. Martin in fifth, 48 points down. Sixth is Foster, 56 points down. 76 points down is Curtis. In seventh, eighth is Brad Allison, 78 off the lead. 80 points down is Micklemore in ninth, and 10th is Paul Jackson, 86 off the lead. So let's run through the starting grid for tonight's race. On the front row, it is Brenton Hobson, the championship leader, ahead of Brad Allison. Dave Douglas and Jagan Russell on the second row. Third row is Dyson and Finlay. Fourth row, we have Button and O'Shea. Fifth row is Martin and Stove. Sixth row, we have Nankervis and Raymond. Seventh row is Foster and Traher. On the eighth row is Pritchard and Tompkins. Seventh row is Donnelly and Jones. Eighth row is Davidson, Carol Walden. Ninth, we have Jordan Wellman. It's Pearson, Micklemore, Williams, Hedishire, Jackson, Spencer, Phelps, and Curtis rounding out the 30 tonight. We are getting ready to go here at Talladega. It's going to be a tough race, and as you said, there's going to be a lot of rubbing. There's going to be a lot of racing going on here, and people are going to very much want to get this victory and get those specialised paint jobs up on the podium.
Yeah, definitely. So, Hamish, if you're in this, where do you want to be, mate? Do you want to run from the front, or do you want to hang back and work your way through the field?
Yeah, normally I'm the type of guy who wants to hang in the back. So's my pick tonight, the Double D in the 10. He's normally in the back as well, but he's right up front here on the second row. That's an interesting decision. Let's see how that works out for him. He might just drop to the back.
Expect to see a few people just dropping down and falling to the back. It is easy to lose the draft here as well, especially with this next generation of car. So interesting to see. But we are getting ready to go green here for round number 10 of the ANZCAR Cup, brought to you by the 24/7 Sim Services. The green flag will drop shortly, and we will be getting ready for the race for the Anzacs. And it is going to be Brenton Hobson leading away, who gets a great start up the front. Look at Douglas sitting in just behind him. They are going to try not to push too hard in these opening laps. Of course, you can't win a race in the first lap, but you sure as heck can lose it. It's very easy to lose a draft. As all just in the background, I see O'Shea just absolutely dropping down in front of Jason Martin, and that's broken the pack up a little bit, just a little bit further back. But the high line's working at the moment with Brad Allison.
Yeah, a bit of a messy start in the back there. A lot of big gaps there. Hopefully they don't lose the draft, but looks like they're catching up now.
Who's that just coming out of the pit lane there, right at the back?
Yeah, Stove and Paul Jackson looks like started from the pits.
Yeah, Paul Jackson.
That's an interesting one.
Yeah, you don't say, eh? There's no caution early on. They could be in trouble.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a huge speed difference when you're not in the pack. Sitting in the pack, you're going to be doing about 300 kilometers an hour, up to about 305. When you're out of the pack, you're going to be doing around about 275 to 280. It's a huge speed difference in these cars, and that absolutely can happen. And when you're running a pack of 4 of these cars, you get a huge advantage. If you're running a pack of 2, you lose that advantage. So it is important to get this working early on.
Yeah, definitely. And not to mention that, Carl, also the fuel burn. The fuel burn is going to be such a big difference, running in this lead pack and then running out by yourself.
Yeah, very much so, Hamish. Do you know what we're looking at fuel-wise tonight?
I think it's pretty 25 to 30 laps, apparently, which doesn't seem much to me, but I'm guessing the tanks in these cars are quite small.
That's roughly 1.495 litres a lap. And I think there's 75 litres in the tank. So, yeah.
Yeah, quite a heavy burn tonight then, obviously. And you can see that top line has really fallen off. They've dropped down to the bottom. There is a top line further back, being led by, just looking down there's a few people. One of the Sim boys, I believe it is not Troy Davidson, yellow Sim boy, Christopher Finlay. Christopher Finlay currently leading the high line. But they've fallen right off the back of the pack at the moment, and they are sort of dropping like a stone as they're not quite linked up as well as the low line at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's just comfortable just riding at the moment. See Rubino, he dropped to the apron there, so we get to the back of this pack. So I think everyone's just going to be taking it nice and easy here. Eddie did give them a little bit of a talking to at the start of the race, make sure they keep things nice and clean. It looks like everyone's behaved themselves so far.
Yeah, no wars broken out just yet on track, but I'm sure it will only be a matter of time before that starts happening.
It should be a nice clean run. I think they're all going to be behaving themselves until probably last 20 laps, and I think that's when we'll see the real rubbing and pushing going on.
Yeah, in my box, generally you just ride until you get to a green flag stop. It's not really much point racing hard. You're not really going to go anywhere. You're just going to be in a pack. So once you get to a green flag stop, then it's all on. You can hopefully hook up some good cars, and then that's where you can actually make positions up.
Can always be a bit of a gamble towards the end of this race as well. And so many times we have seen on the last lap at Talladega a big one happening, but you are always only moments away from what we call the big one, of course, which is where, the big accident happens towards the front of the field and it can take out an awful lot of cars quite quickly.
It looked like this outside line's got mobilised. It's starting to pull back up now. So Matty Ray's given Finlay a good push. He's got Eddie behind him, Luke Trier. So some good cars on this outside line. Looks like it's making moves now.
JC Dove's up there. Yeah, you're right there, Hamish. There's some really good guys up on that top line. Let's hope they can get that really working and that rubbers in and comes back to the leader.
Yeah, it looks like they're pushing pretty hard up front. Apparently these cars get hot real quick, so you don't want to... Oh, Eddie's going free wide here.
Yeah, already getting out, just getting a bit of fresh air on to there and just pushing through that middle line at the moment. You've got a couple of cars up there. Noddy Tompkins getting into the race
big
as
check
well.
up. Yeah, big check up from Pearson there.
Yeah, Pearson just behind Tompkins, who's up there with his teammate Matty Ray. I just going to mention Noddy Tompkins, first time in the Cup, I believe, this season for himself, qualifying himself into tonight's race. So good effort from him, getting a good lap, obviously, in qualifying.
Yeah, it's good to see Noddy up here, but that little check up there has really broken this outside lineup. But we'll see how it goes. Eddie's got De Gea with him. They're both good drivers, so they might be able to work together here. I see, it looks like O'Shea's really hanging back from his teammates. So I think that's sort of holding this old inside line back, but obviously they're just riding at the moment, so there's no stress.
This early in the race, of course, you can sort of... it's not too terrible to drop back. You've got Josh Micklemore back at the moment with the second pack, who's down there with Stevie Dubb, Joshua Carroll-Walton, Headshide, Christopher Finley, Ruben Phelps, I believe as well. So there's a few drivers back there in that secondary pack, and that might be a smart place to be if something does happen towards the front of the field.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as they don't lose this main pack, otherwise they might be in trouble, but there's still some good cars in there, so I'm sure they'll be all right.
Just looking at the speed, the speed, the fastest person on the track at the moment was Brad Allison, 322 kilometres. So the speed is definitely right up there, this early stage of the race.
Yeah, very much so. And then you've got the drivers that are out on their own at the moment doing 287 sort of top speed wise. That's a huge difference in speed, that, and that's what we're talking about, that real big difference in speed. And it's not going to be long. Obviously, Talladega, it's a fairly decent sized track, so it will be a little bit of time before they catch them. But that speed difference, they will catch up to those cars and start lapping them relatively soon.
Yeah, just looking at the speed of the second pack, they're about the same speed as that front pack, so I don't think they're too much of an issue right now.
I was just going to say, once that, if you get an accident, it'll all change and it'll all close up again. And looking at this second pack, there are some really good drivers in there, and you may find that these guys may stay out on that caution. And risk running a double stint on the tyres, or maybe just, it's so many different ways you can run this race at a super speedway.
Speaking of old Eddie, he's crafty. He's got this top line working again, him and Trahir, although it looks like Ryan Jones just dropped out of it. They were looking at challenging for the lead there, but I think this top line is going to be the better line.
Jason Martin just jumping up to try and join that top line now. So he's decided he's going to jump up to the high line now and see if he can get that one working too. So they're really sort of just not pushing too hard, but they are thinking about their moves at the moment. And nobody's going too erratic at the moment, which is a good thing to see. But they are starting to get there. Brad Alton just jumping up to the high line now as well. So they're sort of starting to move up, and I think Jamie Nankervis is thinking about joining him too. So there's sort of a few cars just thinking about that high line, seeing how it can work. Of course, it's like makes the track slightly longer, not by much, but it does make it slightly longer. But we'll see how this one plays out.
Here they come up
they're
the first
about,
lap
yeah, Paul Jackson, that is.
Yeah, so as we were talking about that speed difference, that is how quick it happens. And Jackson will just keep up on the very high line, keep right up next to the barrier, as is the tradition. Just tries not to touch it, but he does. He just gives it a little clip there. And that's not what you want to see when you're driving the high line. When you're in that second line, is the car that's you're lapping, clipping that barrier, because all sorts of nasty things can happen, but luckily Jackson has got a lot of experience in these cars and manages to keep it pointing in the right direction. But that will cause a little bit of damage to the front aero of that car, and any damage to the aero on these cars is not fun at a super speedway.
Yeah, poor old Eddie's probably having flashbacks there, but everyone got through safe. He's getting a real good push from here right now. Speaking of which, I don't think Skirley's here tonight. Looks like he's not here. It's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it's strange not to see Skirley out there, but no, not out tonight, unfortunately. But I'm sure we'll see him back shortly. Obviously, some other commitments, as is sometimes tradition. You know, it's tricky getting to all of these events and all these races. I mean, it's a long old season, as we said, and getting to every single race is very hard to do. Devon Stove will be next car to be going a lap down. It won't be too long before he gets caught up to, and he'll be pulling up possibly to the high line, or will he drop down underneath the apron to just let this pack go flying past when it catches up? We'll soon find out, because they are catching at a vast rate of knots, and he does indeed move up to the high line, Devon Stove, and he's going to sit up there.
Yeah, he was not taking any second chances here. He's making sure he gets these lappers out of the way.
Yeah,
so he doesn't want a repeat of Daytona, that's for sure.
I was watching the race radio and the in-car radio, and yeah, it's definitely lightening up and well in advance of them catching them.
Yeah, communication here is they're on top of it tonight.
Yeah, and it's good to see too, with the lap cars doing what the leaders are asking and moving to that high line, or as you said, Carl, getting down below the apron and giving these guys a clear run.
Yeah,
well, that second pack's not looking too good though, Carl.
No, that second pack's really broken up. A lot of cars have broken off from it. A big chunk of them have come off of it, and now it's only a 5-car line, I think. So he's still got Trahir behind him. He's still got these two SRM cars and Neil Pearson as well. So there's quite a lot of experienced drivers with Foster who can really work together. And if they can get it working well, they could manage to keep it. One of the other problems, of course, with this new generation of car is the side draft. Side draft really can affect these cars. It can cost you a lot of lap time. If you get too close to the car on the line below you, it really can cost you a whole heap of time and really affect you. That second line has started to drop off though. They're now almost 9 seconds behind the leader of the race now. So they have fallen back a fair bit. And that's the difference between having such a big long line of cars and such a short line of cars.
Yeah, Micklemore's last lap 51.6. You look at these lead pack, they're on the 50 flats, so they're dropping off real quick now. They'll be looking for a caution.
Yeah, they will really be hoping that something changes soon, because if it doesn't, they're going to be in trouble and they will find themselves a lap down in some stage, and it does eventually get there, of course. We will be having the Lucky 31 back tonight as well. The Lucky 31, of course, is the chance to get qualified into the next race, and that race will be happening simultaneously, and we'll bring results of that one next week and just find out who the Lucky 31 is to get in, of course, the 31st driver in the series. the little shootout that we have, but no 31 tonight because of at Bristol, of course, we only had 28 cars, I think it was, so there was nobody there to take the lucky 31 race. So no lucky 31 here at Talladega, so just the 30 cars out here tonight.
I even prepared a graphic for the lap 31 car too.
Oh, that's
there we
Murphy's
are.
Law, Matt.
It's saying Gary Wellman because we're riding with Gary Wellman at the moment, but it was my lucky 31 graphic. I don't get to use it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, spent ages preparing it, and then we had server maintenance, and then Bristol, and it just completely ruined it. I think the unluckiest driver in the world, Lachlan Urquio, was the winner of the Lucky 31 back before the maintenance and Bristol happened. And he was guaranteed a spot at Bristol, but he didn't have a dirt license, so he missed out, unfortunately. So the unlucky 31, I guess, goes to Lachlan Urquio. Neil Pearson dropping from that high line as well. So that high line is starting to fall apart now. Foster is going to be looking for an opportunity to jump out of that, I think, as well as Traher and the two SRM cars of Matty Ray and Noddy Tompkins, because they're going to start really falling back, I think. They've got to try and do something here to try and work their way into a position, but that's going to be difficult. He's got Ryan Jones on the inside of him at the moment, Foster. So he's really trying to push and see if he can actually get a gap. You can see Traher giving him a good little bit of bump drafting there, pushing him along, just getting in front of Jaden Russell right now. They're trying to get into that gap, try and force themselves in somewhere, but it's not really working for them at the moment. Obviously, you can't bump draft for too long because, as Hamish said before, temperatures are always a thing you've got to watch out for, and it is very easy for an engine to go poppity pop.
Yeah, apparently you get like a lap and a half, and then if you're pushing, and then you got to back off. So she overheats pretty quick. So you can see Luke, he's giving a good push down the back stretch, but then you can't hold that, so he's got to back off. But yeah, I'm sure Ed will be glad he's got Luke there to push him because he hasn't got too many friends up there, I don't think. His teammates are all sort of stuck in that second pack.
Yeah, in the second pack, both JCW and Daniels back in that second pack.
And a previous winner of a race at Talladega in an Anzac round, Mr. Mark Johansson, of course. Mark, what would you be thinking of? Oh, as Highline gets a really good run there, actually. They're getting a fantastic run at the moment. Absolutely flying. As I think Gary Wellman's just joined that Highline, and they've just got a big burst of speed. And Foster is he going to let Luke Traher leave him out to dry? He was thinking about it, didn't have enough room in front of Hobson. He is thinking about trying to get in front there of Hobbo. And will Hobbo just let these cars get through and possibly slide down in front of him just to help with the fuel mileage right here?
It doesn't look like Ed's he doesn't want to let Traher out by himself. It's quite funny, you've got both the BMX bandits pushing the front row here. Obviously, they know what they're doing on these bike tracks. Here goes Luke, though. I think he's going to get clear of Brenton here.
Yeah, I think they might. Oh, as they just get close again. They're giving us a good race here. They're definitely giving us a good bump draft race. Dave has absolutely given Hobbo a run for a lifetime there. And I think Dave is just trying to open up a gap for those guys to slot in behind them to sort of split up the DPR cars a little bit. You can see Dave having to drop out of that one as that car starts to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, if there's one guy you want in your mirror on these tracks, it's Dave, and he just showed why. Look at that great push. But here comes Traher again.
Yeah, Dave knows
he's got to clear him.
They've got to get down on that low line.
And will we see Foster do it?
Yeah,
yes, he does. And I think he just had to do it there, and he's just trying. Will he slow up this sort of low line a little bit, see if he can actually help Traher out with the SRM cars, see if he can slot a gap in for Traher to pay him back and give him some credit there. But no, Dave Douglas is the car to jump out and help out Luke. So swap of positions there. Douglas jumping out now to lead the high line with Luke Traher. We have two bandits running the high line, two SRM cars, Raymond and Tompkins there, and they are starting to push along. And we've seen these guys, there are some real super speedway specialists, Dave Douglas being one of them. He has got quite a lot of success on the old super speedways.
Yeah, and he got the two DPR cars there now hooked up as well, so this could be interesting here. Let's see if anyone does anything with it, or if that's going to ride it out to this green flag stop.
Yeah, at the moment, SRM are trying to link up as well, and they got two DPR cars between them. They would dearly love to link up Jaden Russell and Brenton Hobson. They had a really good run at the start of the year at Daytona. If we remember it way back then, those two were running up the front pretty much the whole race until a accident caught them out. And they had some good speed running together. So obviously, if they can link up, they could be dangerous. But as you said, the DPR cars, they've got two of them up in the top with Dylan O'Shea and Andrew Dyson at the moment, the orange and pink variants. And then it's Neil Pearson, the next car back in the DPR train. He's got a fair few cars to make up, though. He's got to try and work his way through the field to get up there, and that's a tricky thing to do.
Yeah, he's close enough though. So when they come for a green flag stop, he should better hook up with them. So he's in a good position. I think he's just chilling out there at the moment. Neil, he knows what he's doing. So yeah, getting a bit worried about that second pack though. They're more than a straightaway behind now. They really need a caution. They are going to lose a lap.
Yeah, it's
So,
not.
So Hamish, when we come in for our first pit stops, what do you? Obviously, you take on full fuel, but do you take 4 tyres or do you take 2? And if you take 2, what side do you take?
Yeah, I think it's like a personal preference. Like some people say, hey, you can take 4 tyres and a load of fuel, might as well go for it. Generally, I don't. And if I take 2, I'll just alternate. So I might take rights one time, then I'll take the lefts next time. Generally, it doesn't really matter, other than on pit exit, you can get quite a bit squirrely sometimes and catch you out. But see the old bandits now, they're getting all hooked up there. See, Pierre's giving Dave a big push.
He is, and look, those two are absolutely linked together at the moment. And that Highline's been doing a great job. Only 4 cars up there, but they've been hanging it out with the leaders and keeping in a good position as well, so not to get the dreaded side draft and sort of lose and stall out the car. One of the things you find in this sort of next gen car as well is as Andrew Dyson gets a bit close to Dave there, and that's going to slow him down a little bit. You're going to see that Highline drop off a little bit of pace for a couple of moments. But one of the things you find with this new generation of car is as soon as you sort of jump out of the draft, and as soon as you get that sort of side draft, it's almost like a sort of air brake appearing on the car, where there's a bit of a gap between the two GPR cars now, as Dyson and O'Shea have broken up a little bit. Will we see Douglas try and take advantage of this? Because O'Shea he's just dropped back a little bit, and that could start affecting them a little bit if they fall off completely. They could start falling back a little tiny bit. This lead car, the lead trio, are pulling out a bit of a gap now.
Yeah, it looks like a classic side draft going on there, and they're just slowing each other down. I really need to get this sorted. But I probably want to get to the bottom line, because I imagine they're getting pretty close to a stop here.
Yes, we're on lap 24 of 90 right now, so we are cruising through at the moment at a breakneck pace. And, obviously, the great racing and the great company makes everything go much quicker. Everything goes faster when you're having fun. But I was just about to say, as a former winner of an Anzac round at Talladega, Mark, what would you be thinking about right now?
Right now is well, in that league group, I'd be looking and trying to talk to some guys, trying to work with some teams, and you know how I feel about taxis, Carl. So it wouldn't be a taxi team. Uh, so yeah, you're starting to get ready for your pit stop. You're checking all your boxes. So making sure you got your tyres ticked, make sure you got your fuel ticked, a tear off for the windscreen, and just getting settled and just trying to relax a little bit, because you've still got a long way to go in the race, so you don't want to make a mistake when you're coming in to do a pit stop. So that's the next key element in this race is making sure you get that pit stop right, getting on the pit lane, slowing down. There's so many people that come on the pit lane and get caught for speeding.
It's so easy to do.
Sorry, Carl, I was going to say, just checking out the chat, just give a shout out to Mr. Jordan. His paint scheme is one of the cool ones. There's a bunch of cool ones out there. I did like Kobe's one. That's a cool paint scheme.
Yeah, he's got a fantastic paint job on tonight. We've got some beautiful paint schemes out there, and it's it's keeping an eye on trying to show off all these beautiful paint schemes is always tricky, and keeping an eye on the race itself. Kobe at the moment sitting down behind Tom Pritchard as well, who also has an absolutely stunning paint job on there as well. With the beautiful golden orange job on there in the 15. But Kobe in the 080, absolutely fantastic paint job on that one as well, looking absolutely beautiful tonight. And as we said, it's great to see so many people putting the effort in to get these paint jobs done, and just doing that little bit of extra work to get it done. It's not easy painting these cars up. If you've ever had a try of it in the past, it's not the easiest thing to do, and they've done some beautiful work. Meanwhile, that Highline's reformed with Dave Douglas. He has got out in front of the two SRM cars of Mr. Sheen, Maddie Ray, and Noddy Tompkins. So they are now working in a group with Neil Pearson. They were left to sort of a bit high and dry before. They were the only two cars up on the high line, but they managed to sort of hang on long enough for Dave to jump in there and work it in and get back up on the high line. So they're starting to work it out, but it is going to start getting close to fuel soon. So that will be something to keep an eye out as getting onto lap 28, especially that lead car. So people like Foster and Hobson are going to be the two that are going to be probably the most dire on fuel. Dave Douglas is going to be relatively low, as well as Maddie Ray. So those drivers are probably going to be in the risk group. A little bit further back, Josh Micklemore is going to also be one of the cars that's going to be running a little bit low on fuel, as himself in the Mitch Motorsport entry, the Affinity sponsored construction Mitch Motorsport entry, he's going to be a little bit low on the old fuel, and he's actually got a fair bit of damage to the rear as well. I'd say he's been bump drafting a little bit with with Daniel Hederscheid, and maybe they just made a little bit too much contact, as there's a bit of a crumple on the front and the back of those two cars at the moment. So that is telling that maybe they went a little bit too fast into each other, and it didn't quite work as they wanted it to.
Very smooth from Dave to pop up to this top line before he got hooked up with Luke, as be in the right position. But he knows what he's doing. So out there having a bit of fun, perhaps. But
We
yeah.
can say he knows what he's doing, and it's Dave, and Dave can sometimes be Dave and just being out there to have a good laugh, you know. But no, takes it absolutely seriously. He likes to try some different strategies. We saw that last night in the Xfinity race. Him taking the dual pit stop strategy, taking two sets of tyres instead of one. The one-stop option, obviously the faster option, but he did make it work, getting himself back up into P10, I think. So it wasn't a terrible run. But it wasn't the fastest possible option either.
Then again, I believe he used to be teammates with old Matty Rays. He's got his safe pair of hands behind him, so he's still in a good spot there, Dave.
So
Yeah.
I'm just going to, if we can get a shot back of Kobe's car, Matt. I've got a little bit of information on his livery. That's dedicated to his uncle, who enlisted in the army in 1964. So his uncle reached the rank of Warrant Officer Class 2. He served in Vietnam. His name's Jeff Allen Porter. After leaving the military, Jeff went on to become a president of the Coffs Harbour RSL. So he remained involved with the military in a sense. The Warrant Officer badge is on the bonnet, I believe it says. So the big blue one was his regiment's his nickname, the nickname of his regiment. So that car is dedicated to Kobe's uncle, and it's good to see military families paying homage to serving members and ex-serving members. So well done, Kobe. Very well done.
Yeah, great to see, and great to mention as well, Mark, Vietnam as well, because it's one of the things that often gets forgotten about. Sorry, military history mode here. But it's one of those things that often gets forgotten about in in history in that respect, is that in Vietnam, of course, the Anzacs were serving in that particular conflict, and it often gets overlooked in the rest of the world. So to our world audience, make sure to check that one out, because it's quite an interesting little part of the history there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the Vietnam vets that they uh, it's a hard one for me because I had uncles serving in Vietnam and it was a guerrilla warfare. It wasn't a standard warfare like World War One and World War Two. And by no means am I taking away from our Anzacs, but it was a guerrilla warfare, and it was very similar for us in Afghanistan. It was more of a guerrilla warfare, but in the desert.
Yeah, very different forms of conflicts and very different forms of well, very different situations indeed. And as we say, it's great to see you getting paid homage there tonight in that one. Meanwhile, Foster in the lead, still ahead of Hodgson, so still sticking it out there. We're on lap 34, so we are getting to that point where it is going to be fuel, I think, in the next lap or two, I think, for these leaders.
There we go. Carl, on his cue.
I was just going to say, obviously, Hamish, you're listening in too. About 5 laps of fuel left for Ed.
Alrighty, so 35 to 37 laps of fuel, I'd say, for these guys. There we go, that answers that question fully tonight. So we have got some answers for us. So that's interesting to hear there, Foster saying that. So he will be thinking about pitting. And of course, there's going to be a chain reaction because when you come into pit lane, if you come in alone, effectively, you're just going to be, that's your race over and done with. You need to come in with a good group of people and you need them not to make a mistake as well. And that's one of the hardest things is coming into pit lane, especially when you have a whole heap of cars, especially in a green flag pit stop, because you've got to slow it down. Now, with this next-gen car as well, I don't think you've got too much experience in it, have you, Hamish?
Yeah, the curious thing for old Eddie's going to be whether he comes and nobody else comes, because he's going to have probably some of the worst fuel mileage here, because he's pretty much at the front of the queue all night, whether it was the inside or the outside lines. So he might come and everyone else might have an extra lap of fuel when they stay out. So I'm sure Ed will be hoping someone else pits with him.
Yeah, it's going to really hope. But one of the big things with this car is the brakes, and they're going to want to try and actually get a little bit of heat into the brakes before they get to the actual pit entry, because otherwise they're just going to sail through and then be speeding in pit lane, which is not what you want to have happen, because that's going to leave you with a good 40-second penalty on your hands. So it can be really hard getting that pit stop done, and the pit lane here is quite tricky. And especially in this next generation of car, it is one of the trickier things to get working. Of course, the high line could be stuck as well. If something like Dave Douglas or Maddie Ray need to come into pit lane, they're going to have to pretty much slam on the brakes to get behind this pack, because they've got a big group of cars underneath them. They can't just come into pit lane.
Yeah, I've heard some of the guys have been dragging the brake on that last lap to try and get some temp in it before you come to the pit, which is kind of shows how difficult these brakes can be in these cars. Just kind of surprised Dave's sort of hanging out on this top line. I thought he would have dropped down with Luke there, get ready for this pit, but he's sticking it out there, so we'll see how this goes.
So the question I'm going to put to you, Hamish, that second group, do you try and stay out and run another fast lap, or do you follow these guys in?
I don't think it really matters for that second group. They're so far behind now. Are they just going to try and organise so they all come and pit roughly the same time so they can stay bunched up? Because what are they? They were 35 seconds down now, so they're without a caution. They're cooked anyway. But I trust they're talking to each other because they don't want to have 2 or 3 people jump out of the second pack and. Oh, here we go. Joshy's picking this lap.
Yeah, I think that second group's so far back they're almost in Florida. So yeah, it's pretty bad for them at the moment. But yeah, Josh Mickelmore going to be coming in this lap. He, as I said, Mickelmore is one of those guys. He's been leading this whole race, so he's been at the front for the whole race long. So it is going to be pits this lap by the sounds of it. So Foster's going to be pitting in this lap as well by the sounds of it, from what I can hear. And you can see cars are starting to move around in the background. There are cars going up high. There are cars trying to slot down low. Dave Douglas has gone to the low line, and there's a big group of cars getting to the high line, ready to shoot past the leaders as they go into pit lane. But it is going to be important getting pit lane working. Watch as they come in for their green flag stops. Who's going to make it in? Who's going to lock it up? Will anybody make a mistake as they come in? It is Foster, Hobson, Russell, Douglas, Trahair there as well. As who else have we got coming in? Tom Pritchard, Kobe Jordan as well coming into pit lane. So a fair few cars, and we've also got Josh Mickmore, Daniel Hedgeshow, Riley Curtis, Greg Spencer, Paul Jackson in pit lane at the moment. So important not to make a mistake here. You've got to try not to overshoot your pit box. Easy to do. These things are hard to stop sometimes. Get the fuel stops right. Looks like Foster's taking tyres as well. He's taking right sides at least, not taking left sides though. He's getting a full fuel stop done. And Foster goes out. So interesting. Foster took tyres. Trahair didn't take tyres. So a fair few people not choosing to take tyres there. And Foster taking those tyres, it didn't cost him because of the fuel time. So you can take right sides without getting cost with the fuel time. So that's interesting to see.
All 3 DPR guys are in.
So as well as Wellman, Matty Ray and Noddy Tompkin as well. So they've all come in as... There was a bit of a squeeze between one of the SRM boys and Gary Wellman as well. They had a very close call in pit lane as they were sort of sitting around and not sure which lane to choose as they were coming in, but no contact from the looks of things. They managed to get through that one. Makes Ryan Jones the leader of the race.
We had a bit of a split up there on that lead pack. Here, Kobe and Tom have all sort of lost the draft. They're going to be in trouble now, just the 3 of them. Yeah, Luke's on the comms telling them to get it done. But here we go. Here's this pack that's pitted first, and they're coming out. Got DPR. Looks like they're going to clear DPR.
So how does this second group, well, this fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh group of cars coming in pit lane do? Will they all hit their marks? Who's going to change tyres? Who's not? Will we see?
Here we go. So Dylan O'Shea staying up. Yep, they're all just going to go down the inside there. So they've got it all sorted.
Jason Martin made a boo-boo. He overran his pit a little bit and had to reverse.
Jason Martin did pit stop. It's been a long time since we've had to say that, unfortunately. But yeah, Jason Martin there doing the classic, just missing the pit box. And that's exactly what we're talking about with the cold brakes. It can really cost you. Luckily, it's not costing too much. He's just in front of Brad Allison at the moment. So it was a little bit costly, but it could have been much, much worse for him.
The biggest loser out of that group was Jamie Nankervis. He dropped 3 spots, I think it was, or 2 spots.
Tell you what, there were some good gainers in that one. I think Stephen Williams and JCW were in that second pack, and they're up in the front pack now.
Yeah, I was just going to say, hey Matt, good pick up there. I was trying to figure out, is he a lap down or not? But no, he's done something there. Maybe short filled. I can't figure that one out. He's not. There he goes.
There goes JCW.
Yeah. They've not stopped yet, so that's why. And lock up of the tyres for JCW there. Big lock up. Did he slow it down in time? He's going to hope he did. Ruben Phelps coming in as well at the same time. Stevie Dubb out there, the king of the fuel mileage at the moment. Stevie Dubb up 20 positions at the moment, but he's surely going to have to stop shortly. He's probably running on fumes at the moment.
JCW's taken right side.
Yeah, so you can absolutely take right side without losing at any time. So with the fuel stop, it's right side will not cost you any time. Not sure about left. Just a quick look back.
He's just taken rights and fuel, so that's all JCW's done. So
I'm just going to see quickly if Noddy... Yeah, so the only car I think that took left and rights was Noddy Tompkins. And so it costs you about an extra second to take the left side tyres. And that's left Noddy right out on his own at the moment in the 80. So it's cost him a huge amount of time with that full tyre stop. So he's got fresh left and right tyres on board. Of course, you have limited tyre sets as well. So, of course, there are limited tyre sets in the race. You only get 4 sets of tyres. So you start off with, and then 3 sets after that. So quite a lot of the pack have a lot of spare tyres. But being a super speedway, it's not really a high degradation sort of place. So tyre wear doesn't tend to be a big issue. As Stevie Dubb finally comes into pit lane. with a 42 lap, it's a 43 lap run there for Stevie Dub. That is a very good run for fuel mileage.
This front pack's looking pretty now. They're pulling away from everyone else, even though it's actually the 5 of them. Although you see Dylan O'Shea for some reason just side drafted J Rust and sort of dropped them off, but they should better get back up there.
Yeah. And Dave Douglas really working well as well. He's got up there with Hobbo, and he's slotted himself in nicely there. Fortunately, he's lost his running partner of Luke Traher, who I think was the biggest loser out of that. He's down there in 17th at the moment. I have a feeling Dave tried to say something to me over the radio as well, but I absolutely missed it. But we are running up here. 45 laps to go. We are at the halfway point for tonight's race now, and it is going well. Foster in the lead at the moment in the 53, just ahead of Hobson, Douglas, Jane Russell, O'Shea, Dyson in 6th, Pearson 7th, 8th as well, and Jones 9th, and then Jason Martin sitting in 10th, sitting in sort of the second pack with Ryan Jones at the moment, and they're catching up to Gary Wellman. So Wellman's sort of right on the back of Neil Pearson and Dyson. They're kind of out there on their own. Meanwhile, Dylan O'Shea has got Ruben Phelps for company, who's got Joshua Carroll trying to get onto the back of that pack, and he doesn't look like he made it, unfortunately. So you can see just how hard it is to just get the draft working. If you're within about a second of the car in front of you, you can sometimes make it work. Will JCW be able to make that draft work? I don't think so. He might just be in range to be in the bubble. And I think he is just clawing it back. So he's just got back onto Phelps, but he is a lap down. So this is going to be important for JCW. If he can get ahead of Ruben Phelps, this is the battle for the first driver a lap down. So an important battle if there is a caution.
Yeah, so you got quite a big pack led by Ryan Jones, and they're catching these DPR guys. Wherever these guys can get all hooked up, they might be able to fall in this lead pack, but it's a bit messy though. For some reason they're too wide. I don't know why. They get in line, and they should be able to catch this lead pack, no problem.
Yeah, so Matty Ray and Luke Trahan now just moving out in to form a second line with Jamie Purvis, I believe that is. Yes, it is. So they are forming a second line at the moment, trying to push forwards and get towards the front of this pack. Brad Allison, Jason Martin, and then Ryan Jones leading the pack in the car bush.
Yeah, as is, they're still losing time, but if they can get up this group ahead of them, we've got the DPR and Gary Wellman and whatnot, there should be no reason why they shouldn't be able to catch this front pack. This front pack's only got a handful of cars in it. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. They're coming up on a big pack by the looks of our lappers as well.
Yeah, they've got a sort of, they're very split up at the moment. Well, the one thing you got to say, the front pack, although it's only 4 strong on lead lap, 4 strong or 5 strong? Yeah, 5 strong. 5 strong on lead cars. They've got 2 lapped cars with them as well in Ruben Phelps and Joshua Carroll Walton. So it's a 6 strong line at the moment for the front, but they have got 2 lapped cars.
Yeah, so they're very strong drivers up the front here. They know what they're doing. So good drivers, and they're doing a good job. They're pulling away from everyone else.
And they're catching up to that pack in front of them as well, which is being led by Josh Micklemore at the moment. So you can see just how much time Micklemore lost being in that second pack early on. They're now sort of going a lap down as we're on lap 48. So really, really cost them, unfortunately, in this race. And, you know, it's going to be even more painful if this front pack passes them. But, of course, catching is one thing, passing is another.
Especially when you're a lap down, she's hard to pass. So, but the fact that the field's so spread out, it's going to be hard to see a caution coming until the last few laps when people start to actually race. So, yeah, I think they're kind of cooked. To see how they manoeuvre this though. Whether these guys jump up or are they going to stay on the bottom? Oh, watch Stephen Williams. He's pulled out. This is a tense moment.
So going 3 wide. As we've got a car on the inside, car on the outside, Stevie Dub on the outside, and It's Chris Finlay, is it? On the inside.
Curious move there from Steve. A lot of communication going there. Then at the last second, he pulls up in front of them. But everyone survives, so no harm, no foul.
Absolutely. I was wondering if Stevie Dub was going to try and hook onto the back of JCW and try and get past this group, but no, he decides not to. But he's kind of playing a long game at the moment. He's been having a good run on fuel mileage, so he's got a little bit more fuel than everybody else as well. So that's quite useful to have if there is a caution. It gets a bit messy there.
Ruben's just pulled right down in front of Josh. He had to back out of it. That was a close. Considering Ruben is a lap down, it's a cheeky move.
It's a cheeky move, but it's a move for position.
Nah, Ruben's.
Yeah, it's a move for position because Josh, because they are now a lap down. So that was a move for position for Ruben Phelps. So that was a move for position for Ruben on Josh Mickelmore there.
And they're side drafting each other behind Josh now. That's only hurting those guys back there. But Josh is at least tagged onto this leap pack. He should be all right for the draft for now.
Yeah, Josh absolutely just hooking onto that back and just not wanting to get involved in any shenanigans at the moment. And speaking of that, sort of the other pack sort of working it out, and they're sort of now moving forwards with Luke Trahere now, Maddie Ray in the lead of that. Sorry, Gary Wellman in the lead of that pack. So Luke Trahere and Maddie Ray moved up to the front in front of Ryan Jones, and they've now got it sorted out pretty well from 8th down. They're running a relatively good pace at the moment. They're running similar pace to the leaders, so they're not too bad. They're about 7 seconds off the lead of the race. Sorry, Neil Pearson and Andrew Dyson's in there as well. No, there is much more of a pack, I thought, there. But yeah, they are about 7 seconds off the lead of the pack. Andrew Dyson in the lead of that one in 6th position. But they do have a few lapped cars, Devon Stove and Nathan Button in front of them as well. So it's getting to that stage now where it's a little bit messy for position because you've got so many cars now lapped down in the draft packs that you're looking at their positions. You look away for a split second as Daniel Heddershire drops down to the lone line there. But you look away for a split second and then all of a sudden somebody's in a completely different spot than you thought they were before.
Yeah, it's getting a bit messy in this front pack. The boys are racing for the lucky dog now, so it's sort of slowing these guys down for side draft. So that's going to play into the hands of the second pack.
It's indeed.
Sorry, Carl, I was going to say, if I was Dyso, I'd be quite keen for these two lappers in front of him to maybe just drop to the back of this line, and then him and Neil could probably do a good job pushing each other, I think, to get this line going. But he's giving them a nice little shove there, a little wake-up call. Hey, get a move on or get to the back.
Exactly, a little bit of orange on orange action there. So it's what we like to see. But they're definitely. I guess the only saving grace is that they're sort of, as I say, they're setting basically the same time as the leaders. So they're not that far off pace-wise. But being the third car in the pack means you're going to be saving a little bit of fuel for Daiso. So that could be a little bit of an advantage for them. And if this front pack starts to get battling, which it might do because you've got Ruben Phelps now trying to get back on the lead lap, and if they start side drafting the leaders and start costing them a little bit of time, it won't take long for that second group to start catching up to them. As Ruben Phelps getting this almighty run on the leader with JCW pushing him behind. Steve Love up there as well.
That was a great push by JCW.
And I wonder if JCW is just getting up there to slot in front of his teammate Edward Foster there, just to help him out on the odd fuel mileage. Wonder if there was a little bit of teamwork possibly going into that one. But probably didn't want Ruben Phelps there.
I think Ed would be happy for those two there to be saving fuel and happy to sit behind him so long as they don't hold him up.
Yeah, that is the important thing. I don't want to be being held up. At the moment, last time round, Riley Curtis, one of the fastest cars out there as well. And then again, another beautiful paint job from the RCD. Riley Curtis design on that car as well. Always brings out some beautiful paint jobs for the Anzac rounds. It's great to see another fantastic job on his car as well. Really beautiful paint scheme as well with the the blue paint job on there working its way up there from the poppy fields. It sort of works into the sky nicely. It really looks
Yeah.
very nice indeed.
The other really nice paint scheme there is the man with the purple wheels. Thanks, Paul. I must say, with the poppies on the field too.
Yeah, of course. We'll let Hamish pronounce the team name.
Aotearoa.
Thank you. This is why we need our Kiwi in the box.
Yeah,
That is a beautiful paint scheme.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous job on that one from the New Zealand race team. I was going to try it, but I felt discretion was a better part of valor there. It's like trying to pronounce Danny G's last name. It's just not going to happen for me tonight.
Paul's been through it and through it and through it with me, and I just can't get my tongue around it.
See, exactly the same. I was saying to Hamish and Matt before the broadcast, I just can't do it. Paul and his team, they throw it with me many times. Like they even sent me to a person, like a channel, to actually pronounce it correctly, and I still can't do it. So
He's getting tight in this lead pack. These lappers are battling free wide here. I think that was Greg Spence got him to Stephen W. Almost turned him. I think there's one issue with getting JCW in the front there. It's all these other lappers are going, oh, I can do that. I'm going to try that as well. They've been racing side by side these last few laps. Got a bit close there, but yeah, they've broken themselves up now.
yeah, Greg Spence really, that didn't pay off well for him because he's kind of dropped it off there in the I'm trying to remember the name of the team now.
Which Greg's team?
Yeah, I know. Which Electronics?
Pinnacle.
Pinnacle. There we go. It's come to me. Yeah, Pinnacle. Yeah, they've got, again, another really nice, simple paint job on there, but a very, very nice, sleek job on that one as well, of course. So, again, nice to see. Meanwhile, Dave Douglas gets a really good run up towards the front. He's moving up to the high line, getting in front of Stevie Dub, and that's going to get him side by side with Hobson now, and that's linked up the synergy. So, the synergy cars are having synergy with each other. It is Jaden Russell and Brenton Hobson now linking up. And I said, watch out for this, because we saw at Daytona, when these two got together, they had some mighty pace. So will we see it again from J. Russ and Hobson? Will those two work it out? They could be really dangerous towards the end of the race. Meanwhile, Foster's dropping like a stone at the moment as Dave Douglas is getting a mighty push up on that high line. Dave Douglas is moving forwards at a rapid rate of knots and getting to the lead of this race. He's getting Stevie Dubb, pushing him with Josh Micklemore in there with Daniel Hedderscheid as well. And I think that's Greg Spencer as well, getting in there in the action as well. He worked it out. You see Stevie Dubb dropping to the low line, and moment there for Josh Micklemore as he dropped down, didn't have the room. They went free wide for a moment. Good reaction not to get caught out there as Hedderscheid got past him.
I'm sure these lead lap cars are loving seeing these lappers racing free wide in front of them. They'll be crossing their fingers right now. They've got this race in the bag. As long as they don't get wrecked here, they've got to get this sorted out.
Yeah, that was a big, big moment for Mickle. Although that was scary, scary stuff there. He had reactions like a cat there to save that one. Really good job not to have a bigger wreck there.
How about that push from Stevie Dubb though, man? He got Dave to the front. What a push! That was awesome.
That was just a great push, and there must be a fair bit of rubber down on that middle line for him to get a drive like that.
Yeah, that was big. I just went back to watch Micklemore, and he had a gap in front of Ruben Phelps. But as soon as Stevie Dubb dropped down in front of Phelps, Phelps got sucked in very quickly, sped up so quick that the gap just closed instantly. And Micklemore did a great job of not merging, because the spotter would have said clear on the inside, and he did a fantastic job not to go down, because that would have been a huge wreck if that happened. So fantastic driving and awareness there from Josh Micklemore.
Yeah, and all that business there, that's lost them at least a second and a half. That second pack, right up to 6 seconds now. They need to really keep this thing single file. They should be able to pull away, I reckon, this lead pack from the second pack. But anytime they get sit too wide there, they lose a whole bunch of time. So they just need to settle down and worry about racing later on.
Yeah, that second pack has gained a second on the leaders, so they are gaining. And they're really hugging the yellow line at the moment. They are going for it. So they are really trying their best to catch up to the leaders now and seeing what they can do. But of course, we've got another round of pit stops to come, and they'll be coming relatively shortly in the next 10 laps, 10, 11 laps, I'd say. We'll be looking at drivers coming into pit lane. So that is definitely something that is going to be happening. Edward Foster jumping up to the high line now with Brenton Hobson, who does not manage to link it up with Jay Russ. It is O'Shea and... trying to pick that out just behind them, sorry. Who was that? Riley Curtis there as well. Riley Curtis up there with Josh Micklemore. So high line has formed again, and they're starting to push their way forwards. And Ruben Phelps jumps up in front of Foster to take advantage of that. He's decided he wants to be the car that gets up there to get ahead of Stevie Dub and be the lead car.
Dylan O'Shea shooting the gap.
Oh, and that's pushed Hobson out as Micklemore slides down to the low line. Micklemore's jumped out of that. He's bailed from that high line. He's decided, no, I'm going to come back to the low line and see what happens. And I think maybe Foster might do the same shortly as well, as there's a gap forming.
And he's got both his teammates there as well, heading behind by the looks of it.
Yeah. I wonder if he's going to try and slot himself in there for that one. There's, where she just gets wide. Ruben Phelps having to really take a big moment.
Man, their second pack is just loving this. They're licking their lips. They're eating them hand over fist right now.
Yeah, this is helping them so much with this fight going on. This is just costing them time so quickly. They've gained a couple of seconds. They're now down to 4.5 seconds now. Dyson is catching up. He has the momentum of a runaway freight train at the moment.
That second group is hauling the mail, man.
Yep, they've got themselves sorted. This lead pack is all over the shop. Real
half a second to...
Sorry, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
About half a second to 0.6 of a second catching every lap.
Yeah, we've got another lap car up front again, so this is interesting. They really want that lead lap to get the lucky dog.
They do. Ruben Phelps getting into the lead ahead of Dave Douglas, and he sort of just left Foster, just sort of hung Foster out to dry a little bit. Foster now next to Stevie Dub. Got Dylan O'Shea in behind him at the moment. Foster there just sort of trying to figure out something at the moment, and it's not quite working for him. Dave's sitting there at the moment. He might be the leader of the race, but he's not leading this pack. Sitting in there behind Ruben Phelps and sort of in a bit of a lap car sandwich at the moment. As I said, it's getting a bit messy, but they are losing so much time. That backpack is gaining at an enormous pace. Last lap was a 50.4 for that second pack. The last lap for the lead pack was a 51, so they're gaining about half a second a lap. So it won't be long until they do catch up, because they're getting really messy now, because they're racing each other really hard, and this is giving that second pack the opportunity to catch up to the leaders, and this is going to mean we are going to have a huge fight on our hands.
Yeah, very curious. They had 7 seconds, and they were pulling away from the second pack, but kind of given all that time up for some reason. I'm not sure why, but yeah, the second pack's going to start catching the draft here in a moment, and they're going to be right on them. It'll be interesting to see what they do when they get there, because they're going to have a huge run of speed, whether they just tuck in behind or if they want to start getting into it, because we can't be too far away from pit stops, I imagine.
Still got a little bit of time, so they last
lap 80 or something like that.
Yeah, look, 37 was about the run, wasn't it, Carl?
Yeah, about 37. So they've done about 27 laps currently on this current stint. So they can pit any time now to make it home, of course. But they're going to probably try and run it dry, I think, to get to a point just in case that caution flag does fly. We'll say if, and just touch some wood behind me as well. Just hopefully we don't see that yellow flag appear. It's nice to see a green flag race. Just a big thank you and shout out to everybody watching tonight and commenting away on Facebook. Of course, and I've not seen too many comments on YouTube. Of course, we are over at Performance E-Streaming as well. Head over and subscribe if you want to catch us on YouTube to catch replays and stuff like that. But lots of action over on Facebook. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure having you guys watching. And thank you for the banter and chatting in the comments. We do try and keep an eye on it, but sorry if we miss anything.
Well, there goes Eddie back to the lead. Big push there from Dylan O'Shea.
O'Shea's been having a stellar season, first season in ANZCAR for him. Predominantly a road racer, newish to oval racing. But he's been having some good runs, but he is getting very close to Ruben Phelps at the moment, and that side drafting's going to start hurting him out a little bit. He's trying to get a good run to get up there as well, get past Foster now, trying to get the lead of the race. So I think he is really pushing to get a lead as he gets so close to Foster as well. Barely a cigarette paper's width between those two cars then.
Yeah, this is very close racing, considering they've still got to do a green flag stop. I don't know if I'd want to be doing this, but they obviously want to lead laps, so good to it's a race, and good to see them racing.
Look, getting to lead a lap in ANZCAR is it's a good feeling. There's so much competition out there, and it is a hard thing
good
to
winning
do.
races in ANZCAR, eh? Hey, Carly.
Yeah, well, I mean, winning a race in the ANZCAR and the Weekend Warriors series. I mean, winning a race in both of those series is a hard thing to do. But if you manage to win a race in both of those series, I think you can say you've made it in the iRacing community.
Well, you're doing pretty good in the old ANZCAR admin stakes right now, aren't you? But look at the second pack. They're in the draft of this lead pack. They're coming right now.
This is what you want to see, though, at a super speedway. Like everyone just bunched up again.
Yep. It's going to be real fun after we get this stop. It's going to be a race, and there's going to be plenty of people in it. Just looking forward to it.
Dave Douglas jumping out of the pack at the moment. He's jumped up in front of Stevie Dubb. He's decided he's going to try and get in that high line.
Here come DPR,
Yeah,
guys.
knock knock. Here's Dyson.
So I'm gonna ask Matt and Hamish, who's going to pick the winner? Do you want me to toss a coin and we'll see who's going to win what?
I've already given my pick. It's the number 10.
I would go with that as well, but I feel like I should go with somebody different.
I say Eddie's looking pretty strong as well, and he doesn't look like he wants to lose this race. He's been racing hard all night.
Oh, that's a bit of wobble from header sheet there. That's a bit of a wobble there, and that's really cost that high line quite a lot. Dave Douglas is going to be dropping like a stone right now.
I'm going to go with Foster. He needs a little bit of luck to turn in the super speedways. He's up in the front, so hopefully when the wrecks do happen, he will be ahead of them. So I'll go with Foster.
I'll write mine down. I'll show you after, because I don't want to jinx him.
Did you deliberately not ask me because you don't want me to put the commentator's curse on somebody?
Yes, that's it, mate. So who are you going for, Carl?
See, now I say it.
Oh,
Dave almost turned header shy there.
yeah, I don't think Dave's too happy with header shot. He's given him a little bit of a touch up there just to show his displeasure.
Oh, he's blocking. Jeez, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
Headshot moves up of that line. Douglas taking it free wide with Riley Curtis on the outside now as well. Douglas has got a fantastic run. They have got some serious momentum. Dyson as well up there. Look at the DPR cars. They were about 6 seconds back a few laps ago, and they're right up there at the front of the field now. Great run from DPR there. Neil Pearson swapping in front to take that lead. He has got Stevie Dubb up there as well. And Stevie Dubb, remember, has that little bit of extra fuel, so he can work together with his teammates. He might be a lap down, but they can work out quite well.
Yep, there they go. Great run there from the D2 DPR cars. They should have leapfrog Dave and drop down.
It was almost 3 DPR cars. O'Shea almost made that position. Meanwhile, Stevie Dubb is sort of working well as well. He's sort of holding, sort of becoming a cork in the bottle almost, and just working with that high line. Dave Douglas is right on the back of Dyson. We've got a real race on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a nail-biter to the finish. We have got 18 laps remaining here. They are going to be getting close to pit stops in the next 3 to 5 laps as well. So green flag pit stops will be coming in the next 3 to 5 laps. This is going to be a super close one. So who's my money on tonight? I'm going to go with the 11 of Ryan Jones. He's had some really good runs recently, and I think he could be one in the running tonight.
Yeah, very quiet night so far for Ryan, but he's up there and he's in the money.
My money's on Dyson. Like, so long as he can get in the pit lane and off pit lane without an issue, I think he's fairly strong.
Yes, he was very strong at Daytona as well. Obviously came away with the win under controversial circumstances, but he was, you know, you got to be in the running, you got to be at the front to be in that position.
And he's got 2 teammates as well, so DPR looking strong right now. But Eddie's got his teammate, he's got JC Dub. They may not be on the same lap, but they can still work together. So
Yeah, definitely. But I think you're right. I think Double D is going to be the one that maybe spoils it.
I think Double D's got to be cautious of O'Shea just to keep him behind him at the moment. Sorry, excuse me, as well, because O'Shea could be a bit of a ringer if he gets past Double D and gets working with his 2 teammates here, because he's right behind Dyson and Pearson as well. So DPR could be in a really good spot with 3 of their cars up there. All of a sudden, it's sort of synergy sort of dropped right out with Jaden Russell and Brampton Hobson. They've fallen right back down the order, but they are together. So that is some news for them. And as I said, they've got green flag stops to go. So it's far from over, and anything can happen in pit lane. And we saw last time with pit stops how much it broke up the field, how it really changed things up. Will we see people make mistakes in pit lane as well as they go 3 wide once again? Riley Curtis on the outside at the moment, just with Dave Douglas there as well, and Riley's sort of just dropping back a little bit and sort of caught out on that high line at the moment, and that's going to drop him right back, unfortunately. He's got nowhere to go.
well, you just mentioned Ryan Jones, and all of a sudden he's up here. He's giving Dave a big push. Got J Mark behind him, he's another good pusher as well. And Bradley's pretty good on these speedways, so that outside line's looking quite strong right now.
Race radio just lit up, and some guys are calling 4 laps of fuel left. So
they'll be desperately trying to calculate how much fuel they need to get the ends. You only want to put as little fuel in as possible.
Yeah. Now you 3 boys just don't say anything to my teammates that I haven't backed them tonight, because they're up there. They're up there in that lead pack now.
You never back your teammates.
Well, I'm wondering if I should change my backing.
Button and Stove both in pit lane, so they've decided to pull it into pit lane. So they have decided to come down pit lane. Nathan Button was 1 lap down. Devin Stove was a fair few laps down, unfortunately, but they've decided to pull the pin right now, so they'll see how that one works. The rest of the field, when do they come in? And as you said, Hamish, is pit time and staying stationary. Obviously, it's taking as much fuel as you need to get to the end of the race, and of course you also have to calculate if you're leading the race, you're going to need more fuel. If you're sitting back there in 7th, 8th car in the line, of course your fuel calculations are going to be different because you're going to be using less fuel, so you sort of have to add a couple of extra litres of fuel just to make it safe sometimes.
Yeah, hopefully won't be too much of a problem. So it looks like they've been quite jumbled up. Hasn't been one guy out front all that time. The big thing will just be putting as much fuel in or as little fuel in as you need, but you obviously want to count for a green-white checker if we get one of those. So that's what the boys will be furiously working out right now before their fuel stop.
This is going to be a little bit hair-raising if they catch Devon and that before they have to pit.
Yeah, they're getting very, very close to that group right now. As those 2 cars just crossing the start-finish line now, and then the leaders cross it now. So not far, but I think the leaders will be coming in. A lot of the leaders will be coming in this lap, so I think we're going to get pit stops happening very shortly. Of course, the other thing as well is, coming out pit road, it's very easy to make a mistake and sometimes bring out that caution flag, so sticking it out a little bit longer could pay off for a few people. I think O'Shea just putting the universal signal there that he's coming in pit lane as well, doing the old drop him down behind the yellow line on the back straight just to say, yep, I'm pitting. So I think we're going to see a big group of people coming in. Dave dropping in front of Edward Foster there. They are slowing it down a little bit. You can see that front pack breaking up, and Dave Douglas drops into pit lane, and they all come into pit lane. Ryan Jones gets a big moment there. There is a huge amount of cars coming into pit lane. This could be chaos. Watch out for people making contact. They are 4 or 5 wide in pit lane at the moment.
That was amazing. That was great driving by everybody there.
Brilliant stuff. Oh, there's contact. There is contact between Wellman and Trahair, as well as, was that was Kate Donnelly, I think. Cade, Donnelly, Trahair, and Wellman all made contact.
I can tell you the biggest move, the bravest move there was car 11, Ryan Jones, from that top line straight down around into the front of that lead pack coming in.
Yeah, that was. I mean, he made it. That was a great job. Just unfortunate there that it sort of. The unfortunate thing with iRacing is sometimes it will let you go through a car in pit lane, and sometimes it just decide no, there's going to be contact, even though you're coming into pit box. As I think there might have been contact there for. Did Matty Ray make contact as well with somebody there? No, he just managed to put up in time. Mr. Sheen keeping it as clean as ever. But stop times. Just looking at some of those stop times. Jason Martin 6.8. Dylan O'Shea 10 seconds. So he was one of the stationary times. Edward Foster 12 seconds stationary. So Foster was very, very long time in pit lane. So that's going to cost him a heap of positions.
I can tell you that Brad has only taken fuel, and same with Jamie's only taken fuel. So that's an interesting call.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a mistake from Foster, because he did take he did take right side tyres though, so he could have a slight advantage with that, possibly, if tyres become a thing. But he did lose a lot of time with that one. So yeah, Foster down into 15th position now. That was a big amount of time lost. 8 seconds behind the leaders.
Yeah, great job from the DPR boys. They got that hooked up well, along with Dave and Ryan. So they've got a nice little here.
I think Josh has got to receive the black flag. He's come back into the pits there.
Josh or Jason?
Jason, it must have been.
Yeah. Jason, yeah, Jason has come into pit lane. So was that a drive-through for Martin?
Well, it must be a stop go. If it's I did hear something about a black flag. So
He's
stationary. So yeah, it looks like it is.
He might have got a
stop.
speeding penalty, and he might have a stop go, 30 seconds of hold or something.
I think that may be it, Matt.
Indeed, and Kate Donnelly as well. So Donnelly and Martin both getting penalties by the looks of things, because it looks like Donnelly as well is one of those cars that also. And I think Donnelly might have been. Donnelly might be out in the race as well now as well. So yeah, there was contact in pit lane between Donnelly, Wellman, and Luke Trahair. And I think Luke Trahair copped a fair bit of damage to the a little bit of damage to the front of the car. So he sort of got away relatively scot-free, but it did hurt him in a pit stop time. But the biggest loser of that is Jason Martin, who's been having a horror of a season.
Yeah, it's been a tough start to the year for the old J-Mark, but no doubt he'll get this car figured out and be all right. Just looking at the second pack here, the SSR guys leading it. They're hauling in this lead group, so I think we're going to be all bunched up again here in no time.
Yeah, they need to make it work. Last lap round, it was a 49.8 for them. For the leaders, it was a 50.8. So they've got 2 seconds to make up, and they are catching them. They need to catch them at a vast rate of not so, because we only have 7.5 laps remaining. And currently, it is Neil Pearson in the lead, Andrew Dyson second, Ryan Jones in third, Dave Douglas fourth, and Dylan O'Shea in fifth. So those guys have got it absolutely sorted out at the moment. And as I said, biggest loser out of that, going to say, was Edward Foster. He is down in 14th position at the moment. That was a really costly mistake. I wonder if he forgot to turn his tyres off, because that's the thing that cost him. It cost him a good 5 seconds. Maybe a bit longer, actually. It was a really long pit stop for him, so that was a costly one for Foster, and that really hurt him.
He's not had a good run on super speedways at the moment. Like the Daytona didn't end well for him, and it looks like this one may not end very well either.
Yeah, this second pack's broken up. It's looking good for this lead pack. This could be a race between these top 5, I think. If that's the case, it's going to be quite difficult because you've got three DPR cars. They're going to be in control. Dave's going to have to, Dave and Ryan have to try something special.
Yeah, they're going to have to really work hard for this one. 6 laps remaining. Looks like Stevie Dub's coming into pit lane for his stop as well. He couldn't quite make it to the end, despite some good fuel numbers, but couldn't quite make it in the end. But good run from Stevie Dub, and he's coming out now. So he's just coming out in front, just behind that lead pack now, and he will just gone a lap down, but he will be able to hook himself up onto the back of that secondary pack there. So it is catching, but it's not catching fast enough because we've got 5 laps remaining. It's a 3-second gap to Jaden Russell at the moment from Neil Pearson, and that's a lot of time to make up here at Talladega in 5 laps.
Yeah, they're dropping time now, so be interesting to see how this plays out. I don't think there'll be any team orders amongst the DPR guys. It's going to be every man for himself. So we'll see how this plays out, I guess.
Yeah, very much so. And of course, 2 of the 2 drivers that have led the championship this season. But you've also got Ryan Jones there, who gets a big run. I think maybe just gets a bit of a bump into the back of Dyson there. Got Ryan Jones there, who is not in play for the championship, but is very much looking to get a victory tonight. You've got Dave Douglas, who is always keen for a win in the casting couch machine. So there are 2 hungry drivers, and sometimes leading at Talladega on the last lap is not the best place to be.
Yeah, you can be a sitting duck sometimes. So I don't know if I want to be in the lead right now, but it doesn't mean you still can't defend. So expecting to see these guys race hard here on this last couple of laps. But it'd be good to see. It's been green flag this entire way. So it's been a good race from everyone.
Yeah, great driving standards tonight, which is fantastic to see. And of course, now we say that, then it's about like 7 portions, despite there only being 4 laps to go. But no, really good driving from everybody tonight. We've seen some really close calls. We have seen a few moments which have made us go in the commentary box, but everybody's caught it and managed to keep it going in the right direction. There's been no real major stuff out there, which is fantastic. From all the drivers, and it is not easy to do. You're driving around at 300 kilometers per hour, nose to tail, and you can't really see much out the front of your car if you're not the leader. It is very hard to drive these machines. So they've done a fantastic job tonight to keep it clean.
Yeah, I don't think Ryan's going to be going for it'd be win or bust, I reckon. So I expect
Checkers,
him to
checkers
move
or
out at
wreckers.
some point. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if he moves out, I reckon Dave will go with him. And whether or not the DPR guys try to block both lanes, or if Dylan O'Shea goes with them, that's going to be, Ryan's just peeking his nose out there. We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, Ryan's going to be...
Second group, yeah, they're dropping off, so they're out of it. So it's really just these top 5 here now.
Of course, and unless we get a caution, then it is all to play for. If we get a green-white checker, then anything can happen. And in motorsport, anything can happen, and it usually does.
So coming to 2 to go. When do they make the move?
Yeah, that is the big question, of course, is when do you try and make the move? As O'Shea moves up a little bit and Douglas moves out to defend, we are really looking at as O'Shea, again, just jumps right out there. He's just kind of teasing to make that high line happen. Trying to tease Douglas and Ryan Jones to go on that high line at the moment, and they're not quite falling for it. But if O'Shea can start getting a bit of a side draft, he might be able to block him. But Dave Douglas has joined him. Will Ryan Jones get up there? He does indeed. Here we go. And there we go. O'Shea drops down to the low line, and he's going to try and hook it up with his teammates. Douglas needs to push Ryan Jones as hard as he can right now, and he's doing it. Dave Douglas is using every pony in that car to push Ryan Jones to the front of this pack. He is trying hard, and he's doing a great job of it.
Masterful display there, but whether or not these other DPR guys, they got to get hooked up now and return the favour.
They do, as the white flag comes out. We have got 1 lap remaining here for Talladega. Ryan Jones in the lead. Dave Douglas in second. Neil Pearson's getting a run now. Here we go. The run's going to happen. Dave Douglas gets contact! Contact with Pearson and Dave Douglas. Pearson is out. That was a huge accident. This is going to give Dyson the opportunity. Dyson's going to have O'Shea behind him. This is going to give him a great run here. That was really costly there between Douglas and Pearson. And this is going to be so helpful. It's going to be Dyson versus O'Shea. O'Shea could have an opportunity to get the draft across the line here. Who is going to take this victory? It's going to be between the DPR guys. Ryan Jones not quite there. If he can get a good run, he might have it. But I think he's just dropped off the back of the draft. It's going to be close, but it looks like it's going to be Andrew Dyson taking the victory at Talladega for DPR, with Dylan O'Shea in second place. Ryan Jones home in third. Jalen Russell now comes across the line. That's a huge, huge pack of cars. It's Luke Traher who comes home in fourth. Whew. That was a big, big moment there at the end. And of course, the white flag was out, so no caution.
Yeah, it's a touch and go there. Looks like Dave's come up just a little bit, and then Neil's come down. I mean, you're racing hard in the last lap. It's hard to place blame on anyone there, but it's a bit unfortunate. But yeah, well done, the Dyson, on the win.
Yeah, and I'm just going back, and I think, yeah, Neil did a good job of just clearing the track. Luckily, there was enough gap between himself and the rest of the pack, so he didn't get caught up in that. But Dyson taking out another victory at a super speedway. That is 2 in a row now for him. But here we go for that replay between Douglas and Pearson. And yeah, that's going to be looked at again and again, I think. And yeah, that is a big, big moment between those two, and a costly moment as well for those two drivers.
Yeah, that pretty much knocked them out. But yep, no, well done to everyone keeping it green. That 90 laps. It was well done from everyone. The driving standards up good tonight.
Yeah, fantastic to see. And look, really another strong performance from Dylan O'Shea as well. I think second time in P2 as well for Dylan O'Shea. So he's really knocking on the door for that possible victory. But Andrew Dyson taking the win tonight. Again, getting a victory on a super speedway, winning at Daytona. At least this time round, he's got a full car to win in.
Yeah, he's done well in these last laps, isn't he? These super speedways. But also a good shout out to old Brad Ellison, P7 there. Strong result for Brad. It's good to see.
Yeah, Brad Allison's been having a fantastic season, and championship-wise, that's really good news for him as well, because he was sitting down in P8 coming into this round, just behind Riley Curtis, and he's going to move up a fair few positions. So that's really good news for him. Brad was sort of a bit down on himself after a really good finish at Daytona, which got him up into a strong starting point for the year. But he was very much sort of down on himself, saying, yep, this isn't going to last long. But he's kept himself in the top 10 pretty much. Well, he's kept himself in the top 10 all year round at the moment. So really good job from himself. He's got to be very proud with that one. So let's run through the results of that race. It was Andrew Dyson taking out the victory, the orange DPR car taking the win, with the pink DPR car of Dylan O'Shea second. Ryan Jones coming home third tonight, taking an P3 here for Talladega. Nice result for him. Luke Traher came home fourth. Good run from him. Jane Russell in fifth, with Brenton Hobson in sixth. Brad Allison in seventh. Matty Ray in eighth. Ninth for Jamie Nankervis. Solid run for him. And 10th for Dave Douglas. A good recovery drive for Dave there. He managed to somehow get it back and get it into P10 there. Tom Pritchard in 11th. Edward Foster came home 12th after a really costly pit stop for himself. Kobe Jordan home in 8th. Good result for him. Up 8 positions as well. Really nice. Sorry, up in 13th. Sorry. Good result for him. Troy Davidson 14th. 15th for Neil Pearson in the end. Gary Wellman home in 16th. 17th for Josh Micklemore. Joshua Carroll Walden 18th, 19th for Greg Spencer, Daniel Hedeshard in 20th. At 21st, we've got Stevie Dubb with Jason Martin 22nd, 23rd for Ruben Phelps, Riley Curtis 24th, Nathan Button 25th, Finley 26th, Jackson 27th, 28th for Stove, Donnelly 29th, and Noddy Tompkins down in P30. So, boys, what a race that was. Green all the way from start to finish here at Talladega.
Yeah, stewards won't have too much issues tonight. That's good.
Yeah, it's going to be a short night for them.
It's highly unusual to get a green flag on a super speedway, but well done to all the drivers there tonight. That was some great racing and some hard racing too.
Yeah, there was definitely some single file, and the packs got broken up. That certainly helped with the green flag. But we had some pretty intense racing there at moments, 2 and 3 wide, and they kept it clean. So well done to everyone.
Yeah, it was good to see. And as you said, hard racing, and they managed to keep it green as well. That is fantastic result from everybody, because it is hard to do sometimes, especially when you get a little bit of rubbing on the door. It is very easy to lose that car. So they can all pat themselves on the back tonight for keeping it green at least. But I'm sure Dave Douglas and Neil Pearson will be having a little bit of a chat in the pit lane, and maybe a little bit of fisticuffs down behind the old RVs later on tonight.
Yeah, it seems
I
like they had a bit of disagreement about who was in the problem, who was in the fault there. But that's racing for you.
That is always the way, and it's always hard when you're behind the wheel as well to be at fault. You know, you sort of always go, "Oh, it was that guy's fault. It was that guy's fault." You sort of have to go back and re-look at it a couple of times to really work out what happened, and it's not the easiest thing to do. So what we shall do though is grab up our third place finisher, the P11 car, and try and get screen pick it off. There we go. Ryan Jones, at home in P3. Ryan Jones, welcome back to the broadcast booth. It's been a while since we've had you up here, but it's 2 nights in a row now. Congratulations on a P3 finish here at Talladega for the Anzac round of the ANZCAR Cup.
Mm. You know what? Probably not to well to be expected from me. I'm not too stoked with that. Felt like I had the perfect position, but Dave just went a lap too early on that move to the outside, and I didn't want to risk him going out and getting outside me because then I'd have no hope. So I had to go with him that up early, and you saw the run we got. I was clear out front when we got back to the start finish line, but yeah,
Yeah,
oh well.
it was a mega run you got, but yeah, as you say, maybe just a lap too soon. Were you just hoping that maybe you could pull out a bit more of a gap and make it happen, possibly?
Yeah, well, as I said, I didn't want to do it that early, but I thought from what I'd seen in practice and other races, he might be able to stay hooked on a little bit longer. But I think he just became a bit detached. And then I still think I was in the right position. If they hadn't wrecked behind me, I was pretty confident I'd get a good push from Dave again. Um, and they'd sort of hang themselves up, getting side drafted
Yeah,
behind me. But yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say you're kind of lucky and unlucky, but at the same time with the wreck behind you. Of course, when you saw that happening in your mirrors, obviously Dyson just managed to squeeze past his teammate there and make it through that wreck unscathed. You must have been just sort of snapping your fingers a little bit when you saw that.
Hmm. Half a second, I thought they'd all wrecked, and I kind of had it, but no. Dyson did a good job to miss that, and then he obviously had his teammate behind him on the run to the end, and I tried that. I tried to block. I tried to block him right after the wreck, but I didn't want to become Logano and make one move too many and wreck us all for the lead. So nothing really I could do there. With the two teammates hooked up, I got a little run at the end, but too far back.
So disappointed, but 15 positions in the race, P3. It's not the worst finish that could happen, of course. Obviously, you had some good racing out there tonight, and we saw you make some good comebacks as well.
Mate, it was boring most of that race. We rode single file for most of the first stint after the early little numbers, early laps, and then the second stint we somehow managed to lose a bunch of time to the leaders. So we spent all that stint riding single file as well, and then made a good call with who I pitted with on the last splash and dash, and took a little bit less fuel I think than a few guys, which put me at the front.
I,
Yeah,
I still I still want to know how he got in the pit lane from that high line, that last pit stop. That was unbelievable. From the high line
Um,
straight down in front of everyone. That was a fantastic move.
Well, I knew Edward had told us all he was pitting, so I knew that car straight to my inside was going to peel in. And I was just praying he'd go far enough left that I could squeeze into pits as well. But Edward's pretty aware of what's going on around him, and he left some room, and it worked out. It's just one of those things. I had to make that move, otherwise I would have been nowhere in the run to the end.
was a good call getting that pit entry, and it was a good job getting the anchors on as well for pit lane from that position as well. Look, good solid run from you tonight. Congratulations on P3. As usual, Ryan, the usual thing of love and shout out to people and sponsors and your mum, of course.
Yeah, hi mum. Apparently she was yelling at the TV in the final few laps, but wasn't to be. Wasn't to be. Maybe next time. I'm still claiming one Talladega win for the last 7 days.
You'll get it eventually, I am sure. Now, look, congratulations tonight. Look, all the best to you, mum, and hopefully we'll see you back here again soon.
Thank you.
So next up, we will grab up to the booth the second place driver, a guy that's been making some regular appearances here up in the broadcast booth, Dylan O'Shea for DPR. Congratulations, Dylan, on a very strong performance tonight and a P2 in the ANZCAR Cup race here at Talladega.
Thank you very much.
A absolute solid run from you tonight. You pretty much stayed up at the front of the pack all race long.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of not that hard. You just got to pit relatively close to when everyone else pits and keep the draft and yeah, just be there at the end.
Yeah, obviously being there at the end is sometimes the hard part. As we've seen, we saw quite a few drivers get caught out in their pit stops, and you made a fairly decent pit stop. It was slightly longer than some of the other drivers, sort of from my timing screen at least. But you made it work in the end, obviously. How tricky was getting in and out of pit lane tonight?
Yeah, I didn't really have much of a problem with the pits. I just, I don't know, instinct, I guess. I just was able to brake late. I think like one time I came in at like 100, but slowed down a bit more, so then it can give me a pit lane. But yeah, I just that second stop I forgot to untick tires and went up on the jack, so I quickly turned off my left side so it didn't change all four. So that's why my stop was a bit longer.
That explains that. Luckily, you clicked it in time and didn't get that extra second, 'cause I think that would have been extra costly for you. Obviously, went well, sort of went very well team-wise for you. A little bit of a moment there for Neil Pearson, obviously, at the end, but yourself and Andrew Dyson, you had some good teamwork working together. Obviously, racing hard with each other as well. Were you trying to race for the victory tonight, or were you just there trying to help Dyson a bit?
No, after the pits when I was in fifth, I kind of knew it was going to happen. That Ryan and Dave, oh yeah, Dave was gonna, they were gonna work together, and 3-on-2, it's kind of inevitable. So just tried to stick with Daiso and yeah, not play stupid games and give someone else a win when we can have it easily when it's like that.
Obviously, that last lap on the white lap, the incident, good reflexes from yourself. You sort of just kept on it, and you just managed to just slink the car through there and hook it up perfectly with Dyson. How tricky was that? Just getting around the incident, of course, and then just hooking each other up as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of happened there, but I just followed Daiso really, I think, and saw Neil half spin or half on his way and just moved up, yeah, with Daiso and just luckily avoided that, I guess.
No, good job there. I mean, no, if you're going to follow anyone, following Daiso is not a bad action. You know, be a good car to follow. He tends to sneak his way through a lot of incidents. A really good
Somehow.
result for you tonight, though. Another strong finish and back up here in the commentary booth as well. Um, as I say, a really strong finish for you tonight as well. P2 in the cup. You must be pretty stoked with that one.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll see what happens in the next ones to come.
That's it, and this will absolutely lock you into the top 20 now. You were in the top 20 beforehand, coming into this race as well, but you are locked in solidly now, so no more having to panic about qualifying as well. So that must make things a tiny bit easier for yourself too.
Yeah, 100%. It's much better when you're in the top 20. Like the start, I wasn't, and you had to try real hard to just make it on the grid, and now, yeah, it's a lot easier. So it's good.
Look, congratulations, well done on a really strong finish, and as usual, Dylan, the usual thing, shout out and love to sponsors.
Yeah, just thank ANZCAR for putting the event on tonight, and you for putting the broadcast on. It's always good to watch. And team sponsors: simrigs.com, Southwell Listen Hoist, Ben Max Mechanical, Phoenix Smokers, and NP Designs.
Congratulations, Dylan. I am sure we'll have you back in the booth, and if you keep carrying on like this, it is only a matter of time before you get up to the next step.
All right, thank you.
And finally tonight, we will grab up our winning driver, the man of the moment, the man that keeps doing it on these super speedways in the ANZCAR Cup, Mr. Andrew Dyson. Dyso, welcome back to the booth, and congratulations on the win tonight for the ANZCAR Cup.
Hey guys, thanks for that. Yeah, pretty happy to get that one done.
Yeah, look, a good victory tonight. You had some great pace. Obviously, it was not the easiest of races for you. You dropped down quite a few positions after one of the pit stops and had to work yourself back up to the front. And you guys worked yourselves really hard. And then all of a sudden, you were leading the race.
Yeah, that was a big surprise when we got back to the pack finally. That was a bit of a surprise to end up the front there. But I guess we had a bit of momentum and we were able to kind of wiggle our way through. But we were super lucky for such a long time there, following along with I think it was Nathan Button and Devon Stove. You know, we put some trust in those guys and just latched onto them. Those guys were a lap down, and we pushed them around and kind of hung in and tried to help them get us, or help them help us get back to the front pack. And yeah, somehow we got that done. So I'm pretty grateful for those guys for being there. And it was super lucky actually, because I think it was only a couple laps after we got back to the front pack, those guys ran out of fuel and had to pit, which was unbeknownst to us at the time. But yeah, grateful for those guys. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been in that race.
Yeah, look, obviously, we were sort of talking about that and having those two cars in front of you, saying it probably is helping your fuel mileage a little bit as well.
A little bit, yeah, it certainly would have, but yeah, at the same time, we were trying to push them along to go as fast as we could.
Yeah, and it definitely worked out for you. So second win on Super Speedway this year. Of course, winning at Daytona, now winning at Talladega. You must be pretty stoked with that.
Yeah, stoked and relieved, man. Like, it's one of those races where it's like, I mean, these races always get your heart racing, dude, because you just never know what's going to happen, right? But like, I'm kind of thinking, oh, my heart's racing because I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go, let's catch the front pack. And then at the same time, I'm a bit apprehensive about catching the front pack because once you get there, it's the danger zone, man, and you're flying straight into it. It's like, oh man. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm a bit lost for words. Like, I don't know how we pulled that one out of the rear end, to be honest. And I don't know how I've done it in two races now. Even
Well,
with the little flashbacks there coming through too, with Ryan having a little cheeky dice there, I thought, oh man, this is looking a little familiar. But yeah, no. All jokes aside, that was a good little battle there.
at least you finished with a full car this time as well, so you have all the sponsors on there too. So that's going to make them happy.
Oh yeah, I was thinking to myself at the time, I got an opportunity to make up for some lost burnouts here. This is good.
Obviously, one of the things I want to touch on as well. Obviously, fantastic prize for tonight's win as well. You must be pretty happy about that too.
I haven't really caught up on it. I absolutely did not expect to get anywhere near the front in this race, so I didn't really pay attention to what the prize is. I have to apologise for that. But I have a bit of an inkling of what it was, and I think I remember last week joking with some of the boys. It might have even been you, in fact. Someone said what the prize was, and I'm like, oh yeah, it sounds kind of good. If someone pushes me to the win, I'll have to give them a day on my drift car.
That,
Yeah.
that,
I don't think Dylan knows that, but make sure
no, that's
you
it.
don't tell him. I'm not prepping the car up just so he can skid it. If that's happening, I'm driving all day.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say that was me pushing you to the win, Andrew.
Yeah, it's all Mark.
Yeah,
Because-
I wouldn't say any rude things about you anymore.
Because Prize Zero Alpha Motorsport offering the offer over at Tassie, of course, to drive in a practice round in their Formula 500 Speedway car, their Honda Prelude rally car at Burkersville or Simmons Plains Raceway. So practice session with them guys, a fantastic prize. And look, I am sure you will have some fun with that. Hopefully, you'll send us some pictures and send us some videos of that one. But congratulations on tonight's victory. Just before we sort of finish wrapping this up, that final lap, once the white had flown, and the little incident between Douglas and, of course, your teammate Neil Pearson. Obviously, reflexes like a cat springs to mind for you. You absolutely avoided that accident in a fantastic manner. It was only millimeters away from that being a huge wreck.
Yeah, that would have been Ryan's race end, that's for sure. But I was luckily probably back a little bit further than I wanted to be from Neil at the time, and that's what gave us some time to react to it. But I was just saying before to the boys, you know, it's I don't want to pick sides in things like that, because, you know, we all try and be mates when we're racing each other and have a bit of a laugh after the race, but we race fair dinkum when we're out there. But yeah, it seemed like one of those ones where, you know, Neil was taking a risk and he was down really low trying to side draft those guys. You know, obviously Doug's right up behind somebody. He can't really see where he's going. You know, they both probably had a bit of a wriggle. They touched, and that's just basically the end of it. It's super unfortunate to see, but, you know, those things happen, man. you didn't want to see happen to either of the guys because Dougie's a mate and Neil's obviously a mate. So, but yeah, those things happen.
It is motor racing, and unfortunately, accidents do happen. And as you said, it was one of those sort of unfortunate little racing accidents by all the looks of things. But you absolutely made it through unscathed and made it through to victory lane once more. Obviously, this is really good news as well for the standings in the championship as well, because you finished quite a few places ahead of Holbein.
Yeah, that's not too much of a worry, man. That sort of stuff. I mean, there's a long way to go in this series, and who knows what can happen. But I mean, it's nice. It's nice to get that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
not
such
nice.
a long way to go.
Nice to lead. That's always the thing I say. It's
I
always
don't know
nice
if
to be in the
I don't know if I'll be leading. I think I'm basically a whole race
Yeah.
behind at the moment, but yeah,
Getting
I mean,
closer.
it's cool. It's cool.
No. Congratulations, Daiso. Well done indeed. And before I let you go, the usual thing of love and shout out to all your adoring fans and sponsors.
I don't think I have too many fans, mate. Probably just all the boys in the team at DPR. Massive shout out to all you lads for being such legends. Thanks to all the guys at ANZCAR for putting this all together. Big shout out to Simrix.com and Southwell Lifts and Hoists for looking after us. Who else we got? MP Designs, Ben Max Mechanical, and did I say Phoenix Smokers, Southwell Lifts and Hoists? Yeah, all those guys. Thanks so much for getting around us, and thanks to 24/7 Sim Services for getting behind the league. I really appreciate that, and thanks so much for those guys for putting up this really generous prize for tonight. Obviously, it got a heap of people motivated, and that's really cool. It's great for the league, and hopefully I can report back some good times, and we'll see what happens.
Look, congratulations.
Really appreciate it. It's awesome.
Awesome work. Always a pleasure to have you in the booth, Daiso. Well done again, and hopefully we'll see you back here very shortly.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Well, that is the end of the race. Boys, your opinions?
Unbelievable. Fantastic. Can't think of any other words. Hamish?
For once, Mark's lost for words. I think we have to put that in the actual record books there.
Yeah, no, it was a good race. A little bit of a shame that contact the last lap would have been fun to see those 5 guys race it out. But well done everyone keeping it green that whole race. And I'm sure some of those guys in that lead pack probably kicking themselves now. They should have been able to pull away in that middle stint. They sort of gave up all that time that second pack, letting them back in. But and whatever happened to Eddie on that pit stop, I'm guessing he's probably a little bit annoyed with himself if that was a mistake or what. But he was all up there the whole race. But yeah, no, it was a good fun race to be a part of.
Yeah, an absolute pleasure to have you up here in the commentary booth as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Hamish Gallagher, of course, the reigning Xfinity champion and the current leader of the current Xfinity Championship as well. Absolute pleasure to have you up here. So hopefully we get to get you back here in the booth as well sometime in the near future. Always a pleasure to have you here as well, Mark. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and especially for the Anzac round as well. Having you up here was an absolute honour, mate.
My pleasure.
And of course, Matt Hunter as well. A big thank you to yourself and all the hard work you do behind the scenes. Of course, we would not have these beautiful graphics and fantastic streams out without all of his hard work. Big thank you to 24/7 Sim Services as well for jumping on board. And of course, to all of you for watching and joining us here for the race here at Talladega Super Speedway. And one last big thank you to Zero Alpha Motorsport. Head over to their Facebook page, give them a follow, check them out, because they do some fantastic work with the armed defense, the Australian Defence Forces and the veterans, helping them in a way to get them involved into something, especially into motorsport. It is a huge thing and a fantastic job, similar to Mission Motorsport over in the UK. If you've ever heard of them, sort of same sort of dealio, getting veterans involved in motorsport, giving them something to look forward to and work on in their spare time, and help them get back into a more civilian lifestyle, so to say. So thank you very much for Zero Alpha Motorsport. So we'll wrap it up here. We will see you all again soon for next week. Of course, we will be back with the ANZCAR series, and it will be Dover International Speedway. So a very big change of pace, a very big change of venue from a giant super speedway to a very small super speedway. For myself, Carl Wilkinson with you, we wish you a very good night, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.